Welcome to Therapy is Dope with Alicia.
And Julie, let's make self help fun again. No, seriously, laughter is the best medicine.
Come and join us as we introduce new ways of thinking and being.
And hopefully get you laughing along the way.
Record on this computer. What's up, everybody?
We're back.
Back at it.
We need to coordinate that better.
That's okay.
I
We're
love
all
it.
good.
I love the unedited, authentic side of us. But
Exactly. Yes. We're raw and uncut.
That's a good thing in our case.
That's hilarious. Exactly. So today's topic is
how to find a therapist, or really, what are your expectations of therapy? Or, well, how do I start? What does it mean? Does it mean I'm crazy? Does it mean I really need help? I can't handle it myself? I know people are probably asking themselves a million questions, or like, how do I know that I could open myself up and be completely vulnerable to a complete stranger? How do I trust this person? Or how do I know I'm not going to get in trouble if I share things with them? Or is it going to bite me back in the ass? Or is it too expensive? Depends.
The answer is it depends.
So I just want to share first off my story of the first time I went to therapy, and I don't think I really knew what it was. Really, I just was like, I'm really unhappy here. Let me just be part of this program. And there was like this I don't know, I think it was like a 5 package session or something, 5 session package, and it was like, just try this interview. It was an interview to look at your behavioral patterns or something, and that's for free. And then you get 5 sessions, and it's like 50% off and blah blah. And I went, hey, I love good deals. So I was like, okay, let me just try this. And it was 5 minutes from work. I was like, you know what? The least thing I could do is just do 5 hours, 5 different sessions, and that's it. If I don't like it, and I'm done. And I could say to everybody, see, I tried it. It doesn't work for me. So yeah, so I went, and I did the interview first, and it ended up being maybe 45 minutes. Then I remember asking her, like, how if I don't like her? Like, she's a stranger to me. So how if I don't like her? And then the next one, I'm just gonna be like, can she really relate to me? She was older, she was a different race. She was yeah, so she was a couple of generations ahead of me. So I was like, can she really relate to this? Because I'm like carefree. I was sleeping around a lot. I was, doing drugs and stuff. So it's like there's a lot of things that older generations could definitely judge. So I wasn't sure how vulnerable I was gonna be. Surprisingly, she just let me talk about everything, and I felt really supported throughout the whole time. And
was
I
she
ended
older?
up.
She
was
was
older.
older?
She was probably like 25 years older than me.
Oh, okay. I
And
have a lot of people tell me that they're afraid to talk to someone who's older. And I'm like, what happens when I get older?
No one's going to talk to me anymore.
I know. I have to stay really cool, Julie.
Yeah. Gotta do that. The laser treatments, microneedling.
Yes, girl. I gotta get a facelift here soon.
Orange hair. Orange hair always feels like it's like a hip young thing.
Mm-hmm. Maybe I'll even go teal. I don't know.
Yeah. Be really cool. And I ended up sticking with her actually for 4 years.
Wow, I didn't realize that. That's amazing.
Yeah. I was so happy. And she ended up moving to a different office, which was like an hour away. And I still stuck by her for another 4 months. And I was like, oh, I can't do this, because it was 2 hour round trip just to see a therapist for an hour, So it's like, can't do it.
I assume that was
changed
before.
my life. I love it, and I highly recommend it.
I assume that was before virtual sessions were a thing.
Oh yeah, it tells me how old I am, right?
Not really. It just means you haven't gone to therapy in the last 2 years.
Oh, I guess that's true, huh? Oh yeah. I did actually during COVID, I went to couples therapy with my sister, because me and my sister were going through a lot. So we did couples therapy. I just call it couples therapy, but sister therapy or whatever you call it. We went to therapy on BetterHelp.
Family therapy.
Oh, family there. That's what's it called?
Cool.
I'm not into labels, as you could tell.
You're such a free spirit.
I'm making things up. I'm into
Love it.
sister therapy. You guys haven't heard of it?
I've done some sister therapy before,
And
both
I went
personally
through.
and professionally.
How was it? Actually, do you know what? I didn't know that you did that.
Yeah, it was actually really helpful, I thought.
Really? How long
Mhm.
was that for?
We actually only did like one session together, I think, but there was something that I had been trying to communicate to her for a long time, and the message really wasn't clicking with her. And for whatever reason, when we went to therapy together, the therapist helped her hear it in a different way. And all of a sudden, that particular thing stopped being an issue, which really was a huge relief for me.
Wow, one session?
One session. She actually said in the session, I think you've been trying to tell me this for a long time and I just haven't been hearing you, but I'm hearing you today. And I was like, oh, awesome.
I was like, that's a great sentence to get into to start this conversation off.
Yeah. So I was like, mission accomplished.
Wow. Did she have anything that she needed to share with you, or was it like after you guys were done with that one session, you're like, okay, done, that's it, and just
I don't remember. Oh yeah, I do think that we talked about potentially doing more. And then I think something happened and I was like, I want this to be an individual session. And then we just never kind of got back around to it.
oh, okay, okay. Did she end up doing it? Did she continue on her own?
No, I did.
Oh, okay, okay. Oh, did you think? Oh, this is an individual session for me.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So we actually saw my therapist, who I already saw all the time. I saw my therapist with my mother too. That was interesting.
Don't they? Do they feel like it's not that it's kind of
Fair.
biased because they're your yeah, it's not fair. Like, hey, you've known her for so long, you're basically friends with her at this point, right? You know her history, but you know only her side.
Um, my therapist, I think, did a really good job of sort of presenting herself as a neutral party. And she
Mm.
was like, obviously I know Alicia, but I'm just here to help, kind of thing.
Oh, that's
I'm
good.
not taking any sides. I don't judge. I don't look at anybody any differently. So she does a really good job. And honestly, like I do believe that she would say if I was the one being the problem, she'd call me out. So, and she does it in the most gentle way ever. So it's not like she's harsh or brutal or anything like that. She's
Yeah.
just great. Um, but the same question has been asked of me because I've seen a lot of couples and family members and friends and all kinds of things. And, I think that I don't necessarily take the same approach, but I try to make people feel comfortable. And there's something about me that tends to make people feel comfortable anyway. So it's probably that I'm just a mess of a person.
Oh no. No, because you come off very non-judgmental. You just come off like a blank slate. Like I could tell you that my deepest, darkest secrets. And I feel like your reaction would either be laughter or be like, oh, literally that's it. Like you wouldn't be like, oh my god, how dare you share that? I would never. That would never come out of your mouth. So it's like, oh, I could understand how people feel immediately comfortable with you.
One of my clients said that this week that he was telling me that he was thinking about taking all of his pills and he has 60 in a bottle, I guess. And I was like, ooh, 60 pills, that's a lot. You'd probably get tired of drinking halfway through. I mean, you'd have to take a lot of sips. And he was like, he's like, I like that I could just say this to you and you're not like, you need to go to the hospital right now.
Yeah,
Your
yeah, yeah.
reaction is just completely different. But I
Like
told
how
him, I'm
many
like,
bottles of water do you
yeah,
have?
like that's a lot of pills. You're gonna have to go pee afterwards. Uh, but I told him that, working in rehab first, I think like really did the trick for me because there's nothing like nothing can compare after rehab. Like, go ahead, people, give me your best shot.
Wow, really?
Oh yeah, rehab's a total disaster. It's awesome.
Oh, why did you choose rehab for
I
to start
didn't.
off with? Oh,
Yeah, I didn't. My professor, I was complaining to my professor that I needed to do an internship, but I needed it to be paid because I worked and I couldn't work two jobs. And he was like, "Well, have you tried this place? They're usually hiring." And I was like, "All right." So I literally went in there and like got the job the same day that I went in there because this was back when you have to like hand submit your application.
did you use a typewriter for your resume?
I had to handwrite everything in a number two pencil. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, etch it out in stone.
Yeah. So yeah, I just stumbled upon it and it just turned out that I really liked it.
That's cool.
Yeah. But getting back to what you were saying, I do think a lot of people feel like it's gonna be biased. But it's up to the therapist to make people comfortable and, be honest and whatever.
So let's say if I chose you for some reason, I look online, I find you, I go, oh, she seems cool. Okay, I'm gonna go see you. And then so some of the people that I've known, and I tell them, oh, why don't you guys go try therapy and whatnot? They go, what are we gonna talk about? And I get that a lot. And I also thought that. So when I walk in, what's the expectation of me walking in the first time meeting you? So if I go in, I say, hey, Alicia, or Dr. Alicia, I don't know why I'm here. My friends and family have been pressuring me, or my boyfriend, or blah, blah, whoever's pressuring me. And I told them, fine, I'll do it. Or let's say even I'm really sad. I don't know what to do. I guess I turned to therapy because people say it helps. Now what?
So usually my first question to people is, okay, we can do this one of two ways. I can ask you a bunch of questions, or you can tell me why you're here, because I'm gonna have a lot of questions regardless, but I want to make sure we can talk about what you want to talk about and we don't just spend the whole time doing an assessment. So I usually give people the option, and sometimes people have no idea where to start. So I'll just be like, all right, we're starting with the questions then. And
Uh,
then things can take like 500 directions from there. But if somebody's like, I know why I'm here and I really need to talk about this, then we'll start there.
and there's no rules, right? To therapy, literally, you could do whatever you want, say whatever you want, however you want.
Yeah, I mean, technically, there's one rule. And the rule is that if you tell me you're going to hurt yourself or someone else, I have to tell somebody about it.
Oh, right. Okay.
Um, However, that's loose because it's up to my discretion. Do I really think that you mean this thing or not? And if I really think that you mean it, then I have an obligation. But one thing that I've learned, and you kind of talked about it at some point in your, I don't know, maybe it was just hinted at your questions, but you said something along the lines of like, is it safe to tell this person these things? And something that my clients have told me is that they don't feel safe telling a lot of mental health professionals a lot of the dark thoughts that they have because they're afraid they're going to get Baker acted. And that's a legitimate fear because they could get Baker acted, especially if somebody's really not a risk taker at all and they really just cannot handle the fact that you had a suicidal thought in the last 24 hours and they want to play it safe. And so in that case, they might Baker act you. And that's a real thing that happens out here. That's really not my style. I try everything I can to avoid a Baker act just because I don't always think that's the answer. My client who was talking about taking the pills, he said, oh God, I'm just talking about this. Please don't Baker act me. And I said, what's that gonna do? You're gonna go to the hospital, fight the nurse, get a shot in the ass, and then get sent home and probably take your pills then. Like what? It doesn't, it's not necessarily gonna stop someone if they really want to do that. And he was like, I would fight this time if I win. So,
Like, good.
I think because people know that I really try hard not to Baker Act people, I try to come up with all kinds of other ideas for people and safety plans and all of that business. Um, they do tend to tell me more.
Which I think is good, no? So you're not, because you have to be super authentic. Well, I feel from my experience, the more authentic I was with my therapist, the more it was helping me.
That's what I believe. I mean, when we keep skeletons in the closet, we're just continuing to avoid parts of ourselves or parts of our story. And so, what can we really do with that?
That's true.
So,
So other than you guys, I didn't even know what it was called. I didn't know it was called Baker Act. But other than therapists Baker acting their clients, other than that, everything is confidential. Everything is, so if they said they saw a robbery, but they don't want to tell anybody because they don't want to get in trouble, or they were part of it, or they were kind of associate, or it was a family or a friend or something that they don't want to, you by law can't report that.
no. Um, if you told me that someone else, a minor, this is okay. So, I should be clear. Baker Act is specific to Florida. I don't know what they call it in California.
Oh,
And maybe like involuntary hospitalization, I don't know. And the domestic violence laws are different in California versus Florida. And I only know that because I wanted to get licensed in California at one point. But in Florida, the law is that if you tell me about a minor that is being abused, then I have an obligation to report that. However, once again, there are workarounds with these things because if you don't give me enough information, I cannot report it. So if you say you saw something or you think you saw something or whatever, but you don't know the names or you don't give me the names of the people involved or the address or anything along those lines, then I have nothing that I can report. So that I do have a legal obligation to report. And in Florida, we do not have a legal obligation to report domestic violence, but in California, you do.
I think California has a senior abuse too.
Oh, yeah, there's senior abuse in Florida too.
Okay.
I guess that's important to say in the state that has like all the elderly.
A retirement state.
Yeah.
You're safe. Come over here.
Yeah.
I think that's, yeah, I think that's important to know that that people around the, surrounding the client is safe, because if things happen to them, at least it gets reported. But also that I think it's also important for the mental health of the client to feel safe with their therapist.
Yeah. And I think it takes some experience as a therapist to feel safe not acting on everything that clients tell you, because I know how DCF works. I know how the hospitals work. I've been around town. I've seen these things. I have experience with it. So I kind of know what's going to be considered a problem and what's not. And that's just from years of experience. So I think sometimes it, like, more young green therapists might be a little jumpy about like, oh my God, you're telling me you want to kill yourself? What are we going to do?
I'm sure you hear that all the time in rehab. When you're at your rehab thing, while they're going through their rehab and they're going through withdrawals, they're probably like, I want to kill myself. I hate this so much. No?
I mean, I didn't work in detox, so I didn't see them at that point.
Oh.
But probably, I'm sure that's probably also part of why they get so medicated during detox.
Oh.
Medical detox usually involves you getting all kinds of pills. So, um, yes, I'm sure that is a common feeling. And in my time at rehab, I don't remember a lot of Baker Acts. The only one I remember is a girl who cut her arm like really deep and then came to treatment saying she was going to kill her brother. And I was the one who had to tell the psychiatrist. The psychiatrist then decided she should be Baker acted, but then she ran and we had to send the police like on a chase to find her.
She ran out of the facility, just ran down the street.
Just ran down the street. And the cops found her and they Baker acted her. And I was sure she was going to be really pissed off at me because she was in a really bad headspace at that moment.
Yeah.
But when she got released from the hospital, she actually thanked me because she was like, I think I would have tried to kill my brother. She was drunk, to be fair, and just really not in a good headspace.
Wow. So you saved somebody, saved a person, his brother.
I did. I don't know if he's worth saving because he sounded like a real dirtbag, but
oh, hopefully he changed.
Story. Maybe he started therapy.
Yeah, maybe he should have went to therapy. Maybe she would have had less problems.
Probably.
That's terrible. It's funny, but she would have been in jail, so you saved her life.
Yeah, for sure.
So interesting. Okay, so after you get into the I don't know what to talk about, then you're like, okay, the therapist will have a list of questions and you guys could go through an assessment together. So you could go from there. Okay, cool. Then after that, you go, hey, what happens if you're like, hey, I don't really get this therapist, or like after the first hour, I'm like, how do I know she's good? How many more sessions do I give them a chance before we connect?
That's a really good question. I think it's probably a really personal decision for people, and I don't think I can answer it. I think that you should feel a connection with your therapist, and if you don't, then you should probably go elsewhere because that piece is actually incredibly important.
How long?
Oh no. Whoops, technical difficulties. So Julie, you were saying how long, what now?
How long does it take or how many sessions until I say, until like how many sessions do I give a chance for the connection to evolve?
I don't think I would give it too many sessions. You don't want to waste your time and money. So I don't know if I guess by the third one you're not feeling any connection, I wouldn't go any further. I mean, really by the third session you've probably talked a lot about yourself at that point, and the crappy thing is like it's a lot of effort to start over with someone else if you've talked a lot about yourself like that. So, I mean, I've probably seen 7 different therapists in this area, and a lot of them I only saw one time.
Oh,
Yeah. But I remember one lady, she got kind of hung up on me talking about the fact that I dream. I dream a lot, and she was like, "Oh, she wanted to like interpret my dreams." But I didn't care about that. That wasn't
yeah.
why I was there. So I was like, I don't really think this is a good fit. And then um I remember one lady, I really liked her, and she was like, yeah, I don't think our schedules are gonna work together. So she said, but I'll refer you a couple other places. So she did, and then I saw one of the ladies she referred me to for a long time, but that lady gave me like crazy anxiety because she didn't give me a lot of feedback. She just listened a lot. So I always wondered what she thought about what I was saying. Like,
Mm.
do I sound insane? Like, what are you thinking about me? Um, so I even like tried to ask her, like, what do you think? And she would say like reassuring things when I asked her, but I just got to a point where I didn't like having to ask for feedback.
Mm-hmm.
And she kept pressuring me to do twice a week sessions. And I was like, I'm like having such bad anxiety in one session. I don't know that I can handle two. And it makes me feel like you must think I'm really bad if you want me to come twice a week. And she kept saying that that wasn't true, that she just thought that I was doing such good work that I would benefit from having 2 sessions a week. And at that point I was like, all right, I'm out. I'm not doing this. So I did see her for a long time. And then I never really wanted to see a man, but somebody was like, well, maybe it'd be good for you to see a man. So I did that, and it was an okay experience. And then, oh, there was one therapist I saw. He retired. That guy retired. And then one therapist, my coworker had recommended her, and she was really nice, but she was kind of far. So I started missing appointments, and then I just quit going because I was like, I felt so bad about missing the
Right, right.
appointments. I was like, I can't recover from this, so I'm just gonna have to find someone new.
I
But
thought
I'm
you were
really glad that I did, because my current therapist is definitely my favorite of all the therapists.
awesome. And on a therapist side, if someone just goes through one session and tells you, sorry, it's not working out, clients shouldn't be afraid of saying that, because you're not going to take it personally. You're like, okay, right? You don't, you literally think about it for 10 minutes, maybe even like 3 minutes. And you're like, okay, done. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, a client doesn't even have to say that. They could just say like, "Oh, I'll get back to you about rescheduling," and then just move on. Like, if I'm not going to text you and ask what happened.
Yeah. So I think that's a big thing to also tell clients, like, if you don't get along with the person, it's not like a breakup. It's, you're paying that person to hang out with you, right? Or you're paying that person to listen to you. So if you don't want that person to listen, just don't go anymore. And literally that's it. Don't take it personally. Like, is she gonna hate me? Is he gonna not like me? Is they're gonna tell their friends about me? Like, no, they don't care. So at the end of the day, if you don't like the person, it's not gonna help you. You move on.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Uh and it doesn't even necessarily have to be that you don't like the person. Maybe you just don't think their style's working for you, or maybe you just, whatever. There's so many different kinds of therapists, and even therapists who might have the exact same credentials and the exact same trainings might handle things very differently. So finding a good match is actually kind of hard.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. And just being flexible, and also when people are like, I don't even know if I like my therapist, I don't even know yet, then just keep going. If you feel okay, then you feel okay. You don't need to explain it to somebody else. And if you prefer a man or a woman or a specific race or a specific age or whatever, ask for it. That's completely okay to do.
Yeah, I had a client once who said that she picked me because she thought that I was black based on my name. And so her first session, I was like, "Oh, is this going to be okay then?" And she was like, "Yeah, I think it's okay." But that is a thing a lot of times, because a lot of times people want someone who understands their culture.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't feel like you can relate to the person you're talking to, then you might not want to talk to them.
Yeah. And how much does a session range from?
Ooh, that's a really good question, because it really depends on the practitioner. Some people accept insurance, so you might just pay your copay. Some people they have self-pay rates, and literally the lowest I've heard of is like $40 per session, and the highest is like 500. Like, it gets,
500.
the
That's
range is kind of big.
that's a lot.
Well, here's what really I think is crazy. Life coaches charge $600 an hour.
What it basically isn't that therapist, but more like aggressive therapist.
No, they're not even therapists. They're just people with life experiences, and they've taken a course on life coaching, and now they are certified and they charge whatever they want. But I've spoken to several different life coaches, and the ones that are considered like higher end, yep,
Yeah.
their rate is like $600 an hour, which I think is complete madness. I would never charge somebody that, but who am I?
I see. Yeah, that's crazy. I don't know. I think a good start off. I know I paid up to $150 out of pocket. I've had insurance that covered it, so I only paid. I think I paid $25 per session. And then I went to a place where it was on a scale, I guess, an income scale, and then I was paying $40 an hour, which is nice. Then I went on the BetterHelp or Zoom type of therapy programs, and BetterHelp is the only one I know of, so I'm not like encouraging that or anything. I'm sure all of them are great, but that's the one that I happen to use. And that I bought like a 3 month session or 6 month session or whatnot, and it had a promotion. So I remember paying like $32 a session, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
And it's 50 minutes. Most of the time when they say hour, it's not a complete hour, right? Isn't it 50 minutes?
Yeah, I think my paperwork says that your sessions will be between 45 and 50 minutes. But it all depends. Like sometimes people with ADHD tend to be like done in 45 minutes. And then other people are like just getting started at 45 minutes. So
Yeah.
kind of depends on the person.
So, and there's such thing as double sessions. Like, let's say if you really go through something, a big heartbreak or a big tragedy in family, or bankruptcy, whatever's big that happened to you, feel free to ask her, hey, can I do a double session? Because sometimes it takes you 45 minutes to warm up to what that trauma is about. Then you're going to really appreciate the additional 45.
In the world of insurance, we can't bill 2 hours back to back. But what you can usually do is bill insurance for an hour and then be self-pay for an hour. Or if you're just self-pay anyway, then you can do 2 hours and just pay out of pocket for it. Some people even do what they call intensives, which is like 4 hours, sometimes 8 hours. Those are
At one time.
Yeah, those are usually a lot more expensive, but the point of an intensive is that you can reach a not a breaking point. Not a breaking point. We don't want to do that.
Okay.
A breakthrough. You can get to a breakthrough in one session rather than having to come back for weeks on end, waiting till you can get the full story out so that you can have your breakthrough.
I could see that. When I went through my heartbreak, thank God I had that therapist I've already seen for like a year and a half, I guess, at that time. And she really helped me through it. She's the one that said, do you want a double session today? And I said, yes.
Oh,
It was so bad. But it was very helpful. All this self-help thing is very helpful.
yeah. I think you asked a question earlier too, like, does it mean I'm crazy? Does it mean something about me that I can't do it on my own? I think you asked those questions. And I think a lot of people think that. A lot of people think therapy equals crazy. You must be crazy if you're going to therapy. Luckily, I think the younger generation is all about therapy. I remember being shocked that they were posting things that their therapist said on Instagram and Twitter. But now it's the norm. Like everybody's talking about their therapy sessions, I feel like. So, luckily, I do believe the stigma is starting to change, but it depends on how you were raised and who you were raised by, because some people are still under the impression that it means you're crazy. And it absolutely doesn't. Therapy is literally getting to know yourself and looking for areas of improvement. Some people might say it's about mental stability, but if you feel pretty stable, then you can just do exploratory work and self-improvement. So it doesn't have to be about stabilizing mentally. It could be about all kinds of things. And even if you're going to stabilize mentally, that usually involves getting to know yourself and improving.
Yeah. And going with those 2 points right there. So basic getting to know yourself. If you see it, if you look at it, and I'm trying to use an analogy, hopefully this works out. Sometimes my analogies don't. So if you're calling an automated system, let's say you're calling a company to return something, and you're calling an automated system, press 1 for English, press 2 for what, you have to press that. The next one's like press whatever. And you're going through like 16 automated systems, and you're like, God damn it, I just want to return these pair of socks, right?
I hate that.
You finally go there and you go, press your order number. You press your order number. And let's say you accidentally press 6 and you're supposed to press 9 or something. You're like, so you start all over from to go to the main page. Please press star. And then you're back to the main page. Versus a therapist could be more of a press 0 for the operator. And you call the operator and go, hey, I really want to return this pair of socks. And she goes, oh, okay. Let me send you there right now. And then you talk to another specialist and they go, oh, I'm a return specialist. Just read me a thing. Got it. Done. Put it in the mail. You're done. Sometimes that helps. Not that the automated system doesn't help. Sometimes the automated system is so much easier when you're like, let's say you're multitasking and it's in the background. You don't want to you don't have to give this robot all your time. So it's kind of like a podcast. You listen to a podcast, maybe something like Therapy is Dope with Alicia and Julie, whatever,
Absolutely.
or you do like a audible, audiobook, or you do something like that where you could put it on the side, you could listen to it while you're kind of doing your day or doing laundry, folding laundry, running your errands, whatever. So that could help in certain ways. But then I feel like human contact is really helpful and nurturing during times that you feel so sad or so vulnerable, so emotional that you kind of need a hug.
Yes.
And from especially from a person you don't know, that don't know your friends, that don't know your family, that will not come back and say, I see you at Thanksgiving dinner and be like, oh yeah, I remember when you said this, and then embarrass in front of y'all, everybody. That's the security of a therapist.
Yeah, a couple of my clients, typically males, will say, I pay you because you have to keep my business a secret.
Yeah.
And that is true. But also a lot of times therapists end up taking on like a parental figure to a client, and then a lot of healing can happen that way, because if you didn't get the love or the validation or the responses that you needed from your parents, oftentimes your therapist can provide that, and hopefully in a really genuine way. But also it's a lot easier for a therapist to do that because I'm not sitting at the Thanksgiving table with you and I don't see all the little ins and outs of what's happening. I have a healthy distance from the problems. So it's much easier for me to love and care and be nurturing than it might be for someone who's closer.
Yeah, and they do take those issues personally. It's like, it's my son, it's my brother, it's my boyfriend, it's my whoever that person is. It's you have these rigid definitions of identity with this person, but with a therapist, in a sense, they are your support system, but kind of a stranger at the same time.
Yeah. And that whole idea of like, am I strong or not? I think it's such an American delusion to think that we should be able to survive life by ourselves, because and that whole title of self-made man or self-made woman, like that
Right.
shit is bullshit. Like not a single freaking person out here did everything on their own. Somebody was their mentor, somebody was their guide. Somewhere along the lines they got food from some place that they didn't make themselves. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
none of us, we don't live in a vacuum. We live in a culture, in a community, in a society, and we are all interconnected. And there is no one who survives this life alone. I mean, the research showed that to us early on when we were interested in how important touch was. And even monkeys who didn't get appropriate touch died. So,
Oh,
yeah. So we need each other. And it's a delusion to think that you can do it all on your own. Good luck.
I like that you brought that up, because it really is. Sometimes I do feel weak about, oh, how come I can't figure this out? How come I can't get over this? How come how come this is bothering me so much? Am I stupid? Am I weak? Am I too sensitive? Am I too emotional? And it's nice to hear that's like, no, we're all social animals. We're huge. That makes us different from animals. Like we could think, we could create communication, lines of communication. And with all that being said, like, it's okay, it's okay to get a therapist. To me, I think everyone should.
Oh, I mean, obviously I'm biased, but I absolutely think everybody would benefit from therapy. And this is what I tell people. Are you perfect? No. Okay, then you could use therapy.
Yeah. And on top of that, actually, with the expectation that your therapist will not be perfect either.
Oh God, yeah, no. Mm-mm.
So don't come in and say, oh, let me listen to everything they're saying. Or this person's going to solve my problems. They're not going to solve your problem, because it's just work that you have to do. But that person ideally would just show a mirror to you and say, hey, this is what I'm hearing you say about yourself, and review it with you. They're not going to be like, oh, okay, give me all your problems. Let's I'm gonna give you a formula, and then you follow that formula and you're good. It doesn't, it's way more complicated than that.
A client texted me this week and sent me a screenshot of a text message and said, "What do I do?" And I was like, I don't know. What's going on here? Like, what are we talking about? So she gives me all the context, and I was like, oh, so should we respond or should we just block this person? And she was like, that's what I'm asking you. And I was like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know what to do. I was like, I can tell you what I would do, but I don't know if that's what you should do.
Right. That's what I feel like too. I feel like it should be like, it should be, it doesn't take away your accountability in life. Having a therapist like, oh, my therapist said blah, blah, blah. No, they can't make your decisions for you. They could maybe suggest something or whatever, but at the end of the day, you still have control of your life.
And I think it's important to understand, like I'll talk about my therapist. She told me early on in our therapy that she is not a risk taker at all. So anytime she gives me advice, I remember that. Like, okay, she's coming at this from the perspective of someone who's not a risk taker. That is not who I am. So I have to decide, do I want to take this advice or not?
See, so actually, you know what? I don't know if I'm a risk taker too, as well, just like you are. So for me, it would be hard to be with a therapist that was risk adverse. I would want a therapist to like kind of almost match my personality.
She doesn't really match mine, but I think it's good for me sometimes.
Like, no, jumping off that tree is a good idea.
It's not in your best interest. That's what she always said.
Oh,
It's not in
really?
your best interest. Oh Lord. I mean, and I've told her when I disagree with things that she said too, like not normally in the moment, but like after I've thought about it and we go into the next session, I'll be like, I don't really know if I agree with what you said. And she's always really open to that. And I think that's hopefully something that you should be able to have with your therapist. Like if you don't agree with something they say, or if something they said bothers you, then I would hope we could talk about it, because that's what healthy communication is all about.
100%. I agree with that.
All right. So. Well, that being said, go to therapy, everyone.
Are you telling me our session's over?
Our session's over. Sometimes at the end of session, I say, do you have anything else?
Yeah, actually I do. Like, oh, we only got 2 more minutes.
No, normally if they have something else, I'm like, all right, hurry up and tell me. What is it?
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, join us next week for your other session with us.
All righty. Bye, guys.
Bye.